Hey guys, my name is Jay Dungy. I work for Geico Honda, and I'm working for number 23, Chase Sexton. Starting at the front of the bike, we run basically HRC clamps. We purchase those through factory Honda, and it's nice to, we share information back and forth. Moving down to the front, we run a factory hub with the DID spokes and rims. With the nipples and spokes, everything's just beefed up just to Honda spec, just for safety and longevity. With Chase, he runs a titanium front axle. Some guys are picky with tie and steel, so we go for the lighter version. Our wheels are fitted with the Moto Stuff 260 rotor and pads. We run a factory caliper that Honda give us, so it's basically now same as production piston size, but the whole piece is billet. For Chase with the pads, I just run bone stock. He's hard on the brakes, but I mean, we have the parts where we change them every couple races and stuff, so it's just normal wear and tear. This year, our actually team manager Dan outsourced some lugs, and he basically made it so with all our guys running KYB and Showa, we all had different lugs and brake hangers, so he basically made a lug that's same across the board for Showa and KYB, and then we all run the same caliper hanger, so there's not a bunch of different parts in the parts room and stuff. So for Chase with the starting device, we get it from Arc Bob. He makes it, and Chase runs like an average setting. Everybody nowadays is pretty, I'd say, a little bit on the deeper side just for the grate hooking up, but I'd say he's in a standard position. All of our suspension stuff's taken. We have two guys in-house, JT and Mitch. They work with John and Ricky over at KYB, so we're always constantly trying different stuff, and then if something works maybe on the 450 team, we got it allowed to try it on our side, so it's kind of nice. There's a lot of guys on KYB, so all the settings mesh with everybody, so we have a lot of availability with data and stuff. Just our brake line setup is just OEM. It's actually the 19, I believe from 18 to 19, it's a little bit stiffer, just more for durability. The master cylinder's a factory Honda part. It's aftermarket factory part, so he runs a Suzuki bend, just standard, not cut. He's very finicky with his bar, so the bar position always has to be set, the levers and bars. And with Chase, he's pretty much in the standard position. He's a little bit taller guy, so we don't go super high, but I'd say he's in an average position. And then with his clutch and brake, he just runs a aftermarket arc lever clutch assembly, adjust on the fly, and those are both standard position and standard ratio. Chase likes his brake like right when he touches it, he likes it to be right there, and then actually Arc Bob shortens a little bit, just so like if they're grabbing a hay bale or something, you're not more susceptible to grabbing a tough block or something stupid like that. When I took over with Chase's stuff, he was already on grip donuts, and I honestly, if he rides so much, I don't really think he gets blisters, but I think it's just more these guys put so much time on the bike, it's just a little added protection. And then grips, he's I think third waffle, and it's just a black compound, just like your neutral grip. The throttle tube is just a standard aftermarket. We have it made to our specifications, and it's just a billet throttle tube. We actually have our data guy, and he's basically one of the head technical directors at Geico, and he actually does all our harnesses and stuff, and this year he made a separate start and kill button, and then he's got a map switch separate, so basically we got 3 buttons on the bike if we want to dilly-dally with some stuff. Eliminates a lot of little connectors and stuff, and makes it kind of like almost like MotoGP basically. It's all I really compare it to, but he does a good job with that. And then we have data logging and stuff, and Josh and Kibby, they're on it with that. So Kibby has these outsourced. They're just a little bit bigger, just not so much for keeping the bike cool, it's just to keep it maintain that operating temperature throughout the whole moto. You don't really see it much on Supercross. We do it just to kind of keep the bike at that certain temperature that we want, so it's ideal for the whole 15 minutes of the moto. Our radiator covers, the guys go back and forth. We have this mesh we use for outdoors. Twin Air supplies us with some of the covers for it, so I put those on just to help with the sand. But our tie tank is it's from factory Honda. They supply us with those. We have a little bit different configuration, so we run the aftermarket one, and with Supercross I don't keep it full. For our race tank, it actually holds a few more liters, more for outdoors, just to make sure on hot days nothing, we're not running out or everything. But usually pretty much I think everybody on Honda now has the factory tie tank on all the race teams. So they had some problems at Monster Cup, I think, with Kenny, and then I think he crashed and broke one of the starter buttons, so that's just more added safety. So if like the rider gets sand or something in it, you got to back up. And I actually think last weekend one of the privateers in the Atlanta Sand clogged up the starter button, just sand got stuck in there, and then, you know, he didn't have the second button, but if in our case we have the second button and the guys can go. There's actually an 18 and a 19 skid plate. We have the 19s, but we have such abundance of the 18s, and it's only a couple of different holes that look, you know, more just look, so we're just kind of using the AT one and just keep everybody uniform. So with our engine stuff, we have Kibby, he's our main head engine development, and he's always striding to give us the boys the best package you can. And then we have engine room, we got Mick, he does all the race engines along with Gil, he helps out with practice and race. And then we have Pedro, who dabbles from amateur to the pro side, so he's kind of helping both sides when he can. And then actually Derek, Jeremy Martin / McAdoo's mechanic, does all this in his free time in his garage, and he's always messing with different colors and stuff. And then actually our water pump cover and our oil filter is actually acadized from Hinson. So those are like really two things that we get acadized, but everything else is done out of Derek Dwyer's garage. Mick and all those guys, they just kind of put a little bit of silicone just to, I think it's more for outdoors when it gets real hot. Sometimes that glass can be susceptible from getting a rock or just something, so they just do that as added safety. And actually Honda's got a pretty cool setup. So we have the springs in the back. Factory Honda supplies us with a titanium tip, and it's got a hole pre-drilled for a brake snake, so we put that in, and then it's hooked up to a little plate and it goes behind the motor mount, and it's more just to help if, you know, the guy were to catch something, it doesn't bend out and saves us from a DNF. Hey, basically with all of our guys, all of our race team guys on the pro side, they're pretty much all in the same setup. They might dabble with maybe a spring or maybe just achieve a different pull, but for the most part, all 4 or 5 guys, they're all pretty much on the same setup. So basically OEM hangers. Before I started with the team, they started, I think with Honda just in general, they drill holes and just get different flex and stuff. So this is what he was on when I came to the team, and it just helps the chassis a little bit. Surprisingly, that little tiny hole makes that difference, but for the riders, it's a pretty big deal. So that's pretty much on all of our Geico bikes. There's 2 different options, and everybody's pretty much on that setup for Supercross. With our foot pegs, we get all from HRC. We have different options we can choose from. Chase is on a little bit of from OEM, he's a little bit back, and then OEM pins and springs, and then the whole actually foot peg and foot peg mounts all made out of billet titanium, one big chunk of billet. For the, you know, the brake clevers and stuff, we just get that from Yosh. It's part of their hard parts. Pretty solid part, OEM brake pedal spring. Actually, when I started, those master cylinders are hard to get, so I rallied up a bunch in the shop. They were like brand new. We have a vapor blaster at the shop, so we vapor blast them, cleaned them all up, and basically took 10 of the ones that were really good and put them on the race bikes. That sight glass is fine, but chances of you breaking the sight glass is very minimal. Like, probably will never happen, but it's just for us, it's just an added, you know, security not having that glass, because that could make or break your race, you know, and then with championship points and stuff coming down, you don't try just to eliminate the failures. So all titanium, and then we just run some aluminum nuts to save some weight. For the most part, just like all the other teams, I think most people now are all on titanium axles and pivots, so we're kind of just do it for weight, basically. We really don't cut subframe. Nowadays, I think a lot of people mess with the shock height and stuff, but basically the way our shock setup is, you have to get it, compared to OEM, you have to get it the starter relay a little bit from the reservoir. So they make that sweet carbon piece, and that kind of keeps it tucked out of the way, and pretty solid piece of carbon. Towards the rear wheel, everything's OEM. The chain guides, brake line, and the rear brake caliper and hanger is all OEM. We cut some tabs off for the bottom to get rid of the disc cover, but they make such a good piece that there's no sense of spending money, because it's hard to beat that setup. So linkage, we mess with different variations, but most of the stuff like we're running now, you can get through Factory Connections on their website. Ziggy and all them, they have it anodized and with their logo, so because we basically like to promote what we're selling. So yep, and with the shock, it's a KYB and steel spring, and then they do their coating, make it look cool with the spring. And we got high speed compression, low speed, and then we got rebound, and then we got rebound on the bottom, and everything's right there, so you just hop in with your screwdriver. With Chase, he does some clicking around here and there, and but for the most part, we use our eyes, you know, with Dan and everybody watching him and the suspension guys, and usually the comments line up, so we're all kind of on the same page when we go to make clicker changes for the race. But it's nice having all the clickers. Some manufacturers, it's hard to get at those clickers, so it's nice when he pulls the mechanics area, we can just pop it and, you know, put our screwdriver right in and do what he needs to do. So Kitty had these outsourced. I believe CMI makes them. They're actually a nice little billet block, and then actually he made them so like if you run the wheel all the way back, your bolt, you know, all the way hanging out. So I think all manufacturers try to get the wheel back just to get more stability. And then for the rear axle, he runs titanium as well. It's made to our spec. You know, with our rear tire, like I said, in the front, we run a factory Honda hub, and then that's outfitted again with DID spokes and rim, and then we run a Pro Taper sprockets and DID chain. As far as tires, they're all spec Dunlop tires. Chase runs the same tire every weekend in Supercross. So Kibby, with our Yosh setup, Kibby comes up with his engine package that he thinks is his best foot forward, and then he actually goes to Yosh and they actually tailor the exhaust around our needs. You know, we did a lot of off-season testing this year, being it's the second year with this generation, and I actually feel like they've hit a home run. You know, with sound, everything, it meets the requirements. Power-wise, the boys have been huge from last year to this year with Supercross. And as far as gearing position, we pretty much run the same thing every weekend. We usually adjust it with Matt, but he's a 1351, and all the chain guides are all OE. The only thing is the bottom rear chain guide, the actual aluminum part, is factory Honda, and the only difference is between production and factory is it just doesn't have a hole, and that's just more to keep some rocks and stuff out for the type of racing we do. But for the most part, everything's OE. We run a CMI shift lever that's made to our spec. We have this billet aluminum piece, and they hard anodize it. Actually, the breather hose, you know, most guys just run like a little, you know, rubber hose. This one is actually from it's more from the car industry. It's more of like an oil cooler type line. We just do that because it's got a really hard casing, so it can't pinch. And at the bottom, I run a little piece of heat shrink, and it's more when you cut the stuff, it kind of can fray. So I just keep that so it kind of stays nice and clean. And you know, compared to the rubber hose, this stuff's top notch. With Chase, we run a lightweight foam, and then we run decor stickers and seat cover, and pretty much everybody's on the same 6-rib seat cover. And Chase on his practice bikes, you know, he's pretty hard on plastic and seat cover, but with the race bike, I'm always changing it every weekend, so I upkeep it pretty well. And the team all came together, and we worked with Danny Doby at Decor, and he got him a little bit lighter. I don't know about most people, I'm really about weight, so if you can save weight anywhere, that's, you know, for us, that's huge, especially on a race team. You spend all that money on titanium and all these factory parts that, you know, you can go heavy on some stuff, so it's nice the graphic company works with us. Yoshimura makes our little ignition cover plugs, and then Kibby outsourced a company to make the chain protector, and we sent him an engine, and then they made like a sick little hard plastic cover, so it's a nice factory looking piece. Up on the frame is part of our data collection system. We work really close with Vortex Ignitions. Kibby, Josh, and Vortex, they come up with some really good maps and really fine-tune our bike engine package. Our guys have the data collection on the engine side really fine-tune that. All the oil and all the lubricants is all AMSOIL, makes some really nice product. Twin Air hooks us up with all the filters, and Renegade hooks us up with some awesome race gases. We run a LE battery. All of our plastic is Cycra. They really take care of us. And then actually our disc cover is made by Asterix. Mike and the boys, they make us some carbon trinkets and stuff, and this year they tackled the disc cover and they really did a good job.